Hey guys, I'm Azra, and in this Lord of the Rings Rise to War video I'm going to show you a guide about Saruman. And right off the bat I gotta give a big shout out to the following players. The first one is a high respect level Saruman player. His name is CLP. He is from the warband Nuts, so thanks to him we could get these battle reports and you will see them later when we check out the fights. And also big shout out to Shilki. In many cases he is always jumping in and helping with the guides, like reviewing what we have done so far or directing us towards the right build with the right troop composition, etc, etc. So thanks again Shilki, we really appreciate your help. And that being out of the way, let's get going. Right in front of you, you are seeing my Saruman right now. He's only at respect level 4, which is why we needed the high respect level Saruman player to jump in. But what I am about to show to you works for respect level 5 Sarumans and also above. So if you have an at R5, feel free to copy what I am about to show to you. In front of you, you see the neat little slide I have prepared to summarize how you want to play your Saruman once you have reached respect level 5. So you see this is the skill distribution to the top. Just copy whatever you're seeing over here. I will show you this in more detail in a moment, but before we do so, let's quickly jump over the gear. So as your best in slot purple gear, you want the cutlass with melee might. You are going to run an army that is consisting of 3 melee units anyway, and then you want to have a scale mail with melee vigor. I would have also recommended the goblin armor with ox vigor, but unfortunately that isn't as universal as the scale mail. You will also have one Urukai unit in your army, which is why the scale mail makes much more sense for a more universal approach. And then you also want to have a brutal helmet with melee vigor. This is because you have some speed on this helmet, and speed is also a bit important for Saruman. He doesn't have a lot of speed, but with these two items like the cutlass and the brutal helmet, you get some buff for your speed. That way you get to attack some units first with your attacks like of many colors or the skill to the top, and also Soul Siphon here at respect level 3. And then you have also the smoking pipe because of the high focus stat. Saruman has a few skills that scale with focus, which is why we won't say no to that. And this is summarizing your best in slot purple gear. Now if we have a look at the golden gear, check out this. Saruman is among the few commanders who can equip a gigantic hammer in combination with the drums of Barad-dûr, and this has Grudge of Gundabad. Do you know what that means? It means that you get +6 attack from your drums when they are maxed out. In addition to that, +6 attack from your gigantic hammer. So you have +12 attack in total, which is huge. Like, this combination alone is very deadly. Alright, so this summarizes the weapon and also the accessory. Then you have your armor, and as a best in slot armor piece, we definitely recommend the Mithril coat with tactical maneuvers. It has high defense stats, it has lots of focus, and also the damage mitigation. Like, this is just too perfect. Next one is the Orcish Great Helm. This helmet is amazing. It has a special effect, Orcish Overlord, which means whenever your Orcish units are inflicted with madness or stunned, they receive 50% less damage whenever they are inflicted with CC. This is great for Saruman. We are going to run 2 Orc units, maybe 1 Urukai unit, or let's say if you are playing in Gundabad, you are going to play 3 Orc units anyway, and with this you have lots of stuff protecting you from CC. And then yeah, you just follow it up with Drums of Barad-dûr. Grudge of Gundabad is your #1 choice. You already know the reason why. If you don't have it, you can still make do with Might of Soldiers. And as an honorable mention, the Palantir of Orthanc has all the interesting stats, high focus, some might, and also +3 attack with the special effect Tactical Mark to provide Pursuit. So this too is great. That way you can also counter some commanders such as Gil-galad. He will show up every now and then and punish you with his evading mechanic, just like Rima and Prudence. And for that case, equip a Tactical Mark. If you don't have a Palantir, you may also equip a Wizard's Firework with Pursuit, like the Hunter's Mark special effect. With that out of the way, let's jump over to a skill tree and have a look why we are running these skills. Alright, let's start with the Palantir Scryer talent to the bottom, his respect 0 title. So you want to have this maxed out because of the huge damage mitigation it's giving you, and you may have a side effect like your commander Saruman himself maybe falling victim to commander madness, but that isn't actually that bad. First of all, it's only a 15% chance that he falls victim to madness, and in worst case scenario, let's assume he has fallen victim to madness, what's going to happen? The worst thing that can happen is that he is attacking your units with his active skills. He won't have enough maxed out active skills to be a threat against you anyway, which is why you don't have to be afraid of this side effect. What you are going to have as active skills is of many colors, just 2 points. You have some damage, you know, it's scaling with focus. Let's get some benefit out of this. He has lots of focus stat anyway. way, 2 points into of many colors, 1 point into focus discharge, and we put 1 point into this just because, well, first of all, you should know that it's going to be active only once in your fight, on round 6 only, and when that happens, you are going to attack 3 enemy targets, deal a bit of focus, it's going to scale with focus, but this is not why we have spent 1 point into this. What's more interesting is that the enemy commander and the enemy units are going to deal greatly reduced damage for 1 round. So on round 6, when this kicks in, you will have huge damage mitigation against the enemy commander and units. This is the reason why we spent 1 point into this. After that, you jump over to your Respect 5 title and you want to definitely max out Sharky. This is a huge damage buff for Orcs, Uruk-hai and Evilman, and also it's giving you plus 15 focus. We won't say no to that because it scales with some of our abilities and also gives us passive damage mitigation. Speaking of which, damage mitigation, you also want to max out Morgul Commander because of the plus 14 damage mitigation for Orcs and Uruk-hai. And then when you have leftover points, you just go over to Voice of Saruman and go back and forth between Soul Siphon and Voice of Saruman. That would mean, like at Respect level 5, 10 points into Voice of Saruman, 4 points into Soul Siphon. And this too is an active skill. If you fall victim to madness, this can backfire against your own army. But don't be afraid, the 15% chance to fall victim to madness ain't that great. Also consider the fact that you have spent only 4 points into this. To summarize Saruman, what he does well is he is boosting the damage of his units and also their damage mitigation while supporting them with a bit of damage by himself with these skills, you see, Soul Siphon, and also having a chance to inflict madness against the enemy units. This is Saruman. Usually I would be following up with the troop composition, but in this case I haven't prepared the troops. Instead you will see what makes sense in the battle reports. Alright, our first fight is against a Gimli player, and in this case I have to read these reports from my Discord because they weren't forwarded to me within the game, so bear with me. As troop composition, you see that Saruman has, and by the way, this is the troop composition I'm going to recommend to you. You should always have 3,500 Reapers, just like this Saruman, and instead of just 1500 Crushers, I would recommend 2k Crushers, followed by 2k Berserkers as a universal army approach. Now, what would be much better is when you are in Gundabad, because then you have access to Warlords. If that is the case, instead of having 2k Berserkers, just replace them with Warlords. And yeah, there you go, this is a troop composition for Saruman. Now here you see a destructive fight against Gimli. Let's see what has happened. So Saruman has the items we recommended, like Rend, Tactical Maneuvers, Orcish Overlord, and Grudge of Gundabad. And Gimli has these items. He has the Hauberk with either Fire Protection or Melee Vigor, a full helmet with Melee Vigor, and the Ant Calabash with, I think the ideal effect was Gift of Nature for the additional stats for the commander. And yeah, this is a decent Gimli. In the snapshot page, we have done around 330k damage and we have received around 170k-ish damage. Reapers have done almost 70k damage. Now, this is curious. They were the main targets of Gimli and his army, as you can see. Usually, Reapers deal much more damage, but unfortunately, they were randomly selected by Gimli and his army. Warlords have done around 150k damage. That is quite nice. Next fight is against Dwalin. One more fight in favor of Saruman. Let's see what has happened. This is the gear of Dwalin. He probably has a battle axe with flame. He has a quilted armor with focus protection or melee vigor. Bone was with either manipulate or hysteria, I assume, and Hiflane with Mend or Bane of Orcs. The skills also make sense. It is a high respect level Dwalin. Since our gear hasn't changed at all, I'm just going to jump immediately to the snapshot page. We have done around 340k damage versus 220k damage. In the detailed view, Reapers have done over 200k damage and the Warlords follow up with around 80k-ish damage. Another fight against Gimli. This time Gimli is playing a hybrid build. I like this build a lot. I have tried it out many times. Let's see what is going on here. So Gimli, I assume, has either Rend or the Frenzy effect on his gigantic hammer. That is very deadly with Hunt Down and Collaboration. Then he probably has the Hauberk with either Fire Protection or Melee Vigor. And then he has the Cask of the Submerged Isle. What makes sense is Formation Break for the extra damage for Gimli himself. What else could make sense is Aegis to protect his units from madness. And then you also have determination, which is giving your commander a certain percentage chance to withstand commander madness. So these three effects are what I would roll with. And then he has Erebos Rite as his accessory, maybe with the special effect Eredlune Formation, maybe with Iron Guard, I don't know. But what I know for sure is that his skills make a lot of sense. He put even 1 point to protect his elven units with his dwarven units. This is what the hybrid build does so well. I like that. And yeah, like look at this. We have done around 280k damage versus only 180k-ish damage. This is insane. Like Saruman is highly underestimated. In the detailed view, Reapers have done almost 90k damage and Warlords around 100k damage. In this fight, Saruman is up against Gandalf the Grey. Now look what he is teaching Gandalf the Grey. This reminds me of the movie when Gandalf the Grey first visited Saruman in Orthanc. And we all remember what Saruman did to Gandalf the Grey, right? Exactly this. Gear-wise, Gandalf has these items. It is a Carver, probably with a special effect Smite. Then he has a Mithril Coat, probably with tactical maneuvers. And then a Trapper's Hood with either Hysteria or Ranged Vigor. And then a Wizard's Firework with either Hunter's Mark or Ranged Might. This is just my assumption, but yeah, that would make the most sense. And skill-wise, he made sure to put 1 point into Blindside for the stun. That is good. He also has the first round stun with Wizard, Anvina maxed out, Eye Alert maxed out, also Champion of Light maxed out. So he should be very strong against Orc units. But as you see, it's just not enough. If we have a look at the snapshot page, we have done 280k damage versus around 80k-ish damage. Reapers have done almost 140k damage, Warlords have done around 125k damage. Here is a fight against Gil-galad. Now this is interesting, since he doesn't have a pursuit item. This is how strong evading mechanics are in the game when you are not ready. Now let's see what has happened. Still the same gear, nothing has changed. Gil-galad has an Elven White Knife, probably with Might of Elves, and then the Elven Hauberk. I'm not quite sure what the name of this item was, but I know that lots of Gil-galad players aim for the special effect Resistance Protection. Trapper's Hood with probably Hysteria, if not, maybe Ranged Vigor. And then an Elven Harp, probably with Hunter's Mark special effect or Might of Elves. He also made sure to put 1 point into Icicle, that is good. He has the stun. Yeah, I can't complain about this build, everything is perfect. In the snapshot page, we have done 160k-ish damage versus 210k damage. And in the detailed view, we see that Reapers only did around 80k damage, Warlords only 70k damage. Well, in fights against Gil-galad, you just need a Wizard's Firework with Hunter's Mark for the Pursuit or Palantir of Orthanc with Tactical Mark. If you don't have Pursuit, this is what's going to happen. And here is our last report against Gandalf the White. This looks pretty even. Let's check out what has happened. We have the Drums of Aradur, not the Palantir. And Gandalf has Glammed Ring, 2 times refined. He has the Elven Cloak with probably either Unity to boost his focus or even better, Resistance Protection just in case he is encountering fire damage or focus damage like Witch King or Sauron. He has the Wizard's Hat with probably Tranquility being the best effect and Drums of Aradur with, well, I'm not quite sure what effect he is equipping. He is running a full melee army. Maybe he has melee might on this accessory. But who knows? The skills also make lots of sense. I can't complain about that. He is running Gandalf the White, he has a tanky frontline, and he himself is going to deal damage with his unique paired with his top respect 0 title maxed out. That's going to be lots of focus damage. In the snapshot page, we have done around 300k damage, while we have received 200k-ish damage. Our Reapers have done almost 160k damage, while Warlords followed up with 100k damage. And there you go, guys. This is Saruman in a nutshell. And what I like about this commander is that he is bringing various builds and lots of army versatility to the table. You could run him with a Retaliate build. You could run him with a 2-unit army build. You could run him just as you see with 3 Orc units in his army. There's lots of room for testing with Saruman. I still need to do some testing once I have my Saruman at respect level 5 and up to speed. But yeah, no matter in what faction you are with him, you can just adapt your army, which is why I call this army versatility. Saruman is highly underestimated. This isn't just my opinion. Shilky thinks like me too. And if you're wondering who he is, maybe it's time to check out his Discord channel. I'm leaving a link to his Discord in the video description below. And that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If yes, let me know by leaving a like, consider subscribing, and maybe share the video. Just by doing these 3 things, you help me growing my YouTube channel. And that's it for today. I see you guys next time.